consumer rights, the government is seeking your views on the recommendations in a public consultation.
Embark on an extraordinary journey with David Attenborough.
How does this small frog survive against the cold?
And be ready to meet the most bewildering and intriguing creatures in the natural world. Friday, David Attenborough's Natural Curiosities, Season 2, at 8 on Pearl.
It's Harry's second year at Hogwarts.
A plot to make most terrible things happen.
And a dark, mysterious force is waiting to be unleashed.
The Chamber of Secrets has been opened. Enemies of the air, beware.
Now, Harry Potter and his friends will be facing their biggest challenge yet.
Saturday, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets on Pearl.
Shorter newscasts on the cards amid ATV pay row. Scrambling for cash on Gloucester Road. And another police killing of a black teen in the US. Good evening. ATV's news department staff have proposed airing shorter news bulletins. The broadcaster has still not paid its workers their November salaries. As Liz Yoon reports, a top ATV executive says the company has a contingency plan to help maintain its news operations.
Members of ATV's news department met this afternoon after declaring earlier its operations may be affected from January if they don't get paid their November salaries this month. They looked at their manpower situation, such as how many employees would continue to go to work next month. Some staff have already applied for leave in January. Now the department has proposed to management shortening their news broadcasts. Staff say such a move would reduce the pressure on those still working. According to the station's free-to-air TV licensing requirements, ATV has to air at least 2 news programs per day of at least 15 minutes each in Chinese and English. Failure to do so will lead to warnings, fines, and even the suspension of its license. ATV's executive director Ip Kapo says arrangements are being made towards producing shorter newscasts, such as seeking outside help. And he once again appealed to one of the station's shareholders, Taiwanese tycoon Tsai Ing-wen, to help out financially.
I don't know what Mr. Tsai will react after these few days. I do hope that he can put some money into ATV to let us to settle the salary for the staff.
And the search for investors continues after the High Court assigned 2 Deloitte China officials as managers of the embattled station. One of the missions is to look for someone to acquire a 10.75% stake held by shareholder Wang Ben-kun, a relative of a major investor Wang Zheng.
Well, we would be hopeful that we will find an investor who will acquire the Panther shares, and subject to other shares being up for disposal and acquiring them. I think we've got to be confident at this stage.
The 2 managers will also be looking for a new CEO for the station and monitoring its expenses. But the new managers admitted it won't be easy to find investors just ahead of the Christmas and New Year holidays.
Trying to resolve the situation with the employees is a critical factor. I understand the employees have been waiting for their wages and salaries, but I hope they would see that the managers have been appointed and that they are trying to get funding. We haven't got it yet, but we need some time.
The 2 independent non-executive directors appointed by the court said if ATV files for liquidation, it would risk losing its free-to-air TV license, and that would leave stakeholders and employees in a lose-lose situation. Liz Yun, TVB News.
Next, something you don't see every day. Passers-by were seen picking up banknotes that fell out of a cash-in-transit van on Gloucester Road in Wan Chai. The security firm that was transporting the money says it lost more than $15 million. Dainto has the story.
The police received a report at 1:50 this afternoon about a large amount of cash that was scattered along Gloucester Road near Stewart Road. Officers cordoned off a section of the road to collect the banknotes. Some used their helmets to contain them. Officers counted the notes one by one as others stood guard around them. Members of the public took photos of people rushing out onto the road to pick up the money. The police said the money came from a security company that was transporting cash from Sai Wan Ho to Cheung Sha Wan along a set route.
We are talking about three steel boxes of money being dropped off from a cash transit van. The transit van lifted from Chowkee van at about 1:30. It was not until 2:20 the transit company did cover the loss. Total consignment is 30 carton box of money, 3 being lost.
The seals on 2 of the dropped boxes were broken, believed to have been damaged when they fell out of the vehicle. The security company said it lost $15 million in $500 notes. The police reminded the public that anyone who picked up the money and keeps it could be violating the law. They appealed to those who found the cash to contact the police. Dainto, TVB News.
Turning overseas now. A black teenager has been shot and killed by police in the U.S. state of Missouri, not far from where another black teen, Michael Brown, was gunned down by a white officer in August. Police said an officer was conducting a routine check at a petrol station in the St. Louis suburb of Berkeley when he was approached by 2 men. The officer killed 18-year-old Antonio Martin, who pointed a gun at him. The second man fled. Martin's death sparked clashes between protesters and police at the scene of the shooting. Local media reports say at least 3 people were arrested. U.S. investigators say they have uncovered a scheme in which guns were taken onto passenger jets for years in carry-on luggage. A former Delta Airlines baggage handler has been charged with helping another man smuggle the weapons, including an AK-47 rifle, on flights from Atlanta to New York City.
This investigation is deeply troubling because not only are these guns creating havoc on the streets of Brooklyn and throughout the country, but now this scheme really poses a threat in terms of terrorism. They could put guns on the plane this time. They could have easily put a bomb on one of those planes.
The baggage handler has since been fired by Delta. A total of 5 people have been linked to the scheme. A comedy which depicts the fictional killing of North Korea's leader will be released on Christmas Day, reversing an earlier move by Sony Pictures to pull the movie following a massive cyber attack. The interview will be shown at a limited number of theaters in America. Here's Tony Sabine.
Will they or won't they release the interview? That's the question everyone has been asking after Sony Pictures pulled the movie last week, following a massive hacking attack which crippled the company, and because of threats against American cinemas which were planning to show the film this Christmas. US authorities blame Pyongyang for sponsoring the hack attack. Now it appears the studio responsible for backing the spoof film about the fictional assassination of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has done a U-turn. Last night, Sony Pictures Entertainment CEO Michael Linton said Seth Rogen and James Franco's North Korea farce will be in a number of theatres on Christmas Day. The reaction was positive among moviegoers and theatre managers.
I could not have imagined a scenario a couple days ago where we were going to be able to show the movie on Christmas Day, but I guess miracles happen around Christmas time, so this is a good thing.
I think it's very important as Americans just to be able to stand up for free speech as well as just to be able to stand up for our constitutional rights.
US President Barack Obama also welcomed Sony's decision after earlier criticizing the studio for pulling the film. Sony's flip-flop on releasing the interview shows the studio has been working furiously to try to chart the right course through political and public opinion minefields. The film is expected to show in 200 mostly independent art house cinemas tomorrow. It was originally going to be shown in up to 3,000 theatres around America. Tony Sabine, TVB News.
The Foreign Ministry in Beijing has called on all parties involved in the cyber attack on Sony to exercise restraint. A spokeswoman also reiterated China's stance that the country is against all forms of cyber terrorism. Meanwhile, South Korea is seeking Beijing's cooperation in a probe into a cyber attack last week on its nuclear power plant operator. Seoul traced multiple internet addresses involved to Xiangyang near North Korea. But a South Korean official says the location of the internet addresses did not prove the source of the hack was either China or North Korea. The man dubbed as the Canadian Psycho has been convicted of the murder of a Chinese student in Montreal 2 years ago. The victim was dismembered and his body parts were mailed to various locations across Canada. As Jameson Wong reports, Luca Magnotta faces a life sentence.
After 8 days of jury deliberations, Magnotta was found guilty of first-degree murder yesterday. The conviction carries a mandatory life sentence with the possibility of parole after 25 years. The 32-year-old former porn star and gay escort had admitted to killing and dismembering 33-year-old Chinese engineering student Lin Jun in 2012, but pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. Magnotta, who was arrested in Berlin after an international manhunt, was also convicted of other offenses such as committing an indignity to a human body. Police say Lin's torso was found in a suitcase at a garbage dump outside Magnotta's apartment building, and packages containing body parts were mailed to political party offices and schools across Canada. The prosecution said the crime was clearly premeditated. The court heard 6 months before the killing, Magnotta had emailed a British journalist saying he was planning to kill a human being and make a movie of it.
How did you feel when you heard the word guilty?
I felt great, but I was expecting that. Tell you the truth, that's the verdict I was expecting.
Lin's father traveled to Canada to attend the trial.
And what we did is try to make him understand that the crime happened in our country. It was a Canadian that killed his son, and we're going to give him our justice, the best of our justice, and do the best that we can to the victim of this horrible crime.
He is a real person. I have seen up close his insanity. He suffers, as the experts have said, from schizophrenia and personality disorder.
Magnotta has 30 days to file an appeal. Jameson Wong, TVB News.
Back locally, crowds gathered in Mongkok this evening, some carrying yellow umbrellas, a symbol of the Occupy movement that ended recently. At around 8 p.m., scores of people were making their presence felt on Sai Yuen Choi Street South. They chanted slogans calling for genuine universal suffrage. Some arrived at a minibus stop run by the minibus operator that had applied for an injunction to clear the Mongkok Occupy protest site. Police issued warnings asking them to leave, saying they were taking part in an unauthorized rally. Former Sun Hung Kai Properties Joint Chairman Thomas Kwok, who's being remanded in custody, is said to be in good spirits. His legal representative visited him one day after he was sentenced to 5 years in prison in a high-profile corruption case involving former Chief Secretary for Administration Raphael Hui. As Diane To reports, the lawyer refused to give details about Kwok's planned appeal.
Senior counsel Lawrence Locke arrived at the Lai Chi Kok Reception Centre around 9 o'clock this morning to visit his client. As he was leaving, he described Thomas Kwok as in good spirits. Responding to reporters' questions about Kwok's planned appeal, Locke apologised, saying he wasn't at liberty to reveal any details. He said Kwok has been given an individual cell inside the reception centre's medical facility due to his high blood pressure, but added that he does